another video for the channel. Welcome back to DMB Sports Zone. And I know a lot of you guys are looking forward to this absolutely great live stream last week on Thursday, I believe. But your boy got sick from the backseat for a little bit, so I'm back now with Wole, none other than Wole from the urban sports scene. And Wole, I'm so grateful that you took the time out of your evening to join us tonight. We got a lot to talk about, Wassa football team related, maybe a little bit of Rodgers talk as well. But first and foremost, as I'd like to start off every single stream, can you let the good people out there in the DMV Sports Zone community know a little bit more about yourself and the work that you do with the Wassa football team and beyond?
Yeah, so I'm part of the urban sports scene. There's three of us. It's myself, Ray, my boy Will. So we started this thing about, I want to say like around 2010. So we've been going this game strong. And we have a live podcast that airs every Tuesday night from 8 to 9 live. And also we're with Empire Media, which is Brand. If you're familiar with the voice of the Washington football team, Brand.
We had him on the show.
Yeah, great guy. So we're a part of his brand. Also, we have a Washington football team podcast called All Burgundy and Gold Everything with the urban sports scene. And that's part of Fox Sports Radio, 1340 AM, Hopewell, Virginia. And so we talk all Washington football team on that podcast, and you can catch that, and you can catch both podcasts on any podcast platform, which is iTunes, podcast, Spotify, Stitcher, you name it, it's on it. And that podcast again, we there's three of us, Ray, myself, and my boy Mo. So there's three. Those are the three for that particular podcast. So we've been doing the urban sports thing for a while, trying to make big moves like everybody else. I don't want to act like anything special, which we're trying like everybody. But it's been fun. And also when football season does start, typically I do cover the Washington football team. So I go to games, I cover games. This is for Fox. This is for Fox Sports. I cover games and interview players, and just trying my hand in everything. So every once in a while I'm at Wizards game. Ray, who's part of the urban sports scene, he goes to Wizards game. He covers the Wizards. He covers the Mystics. He works a Round Ball Report, so y'all can check him out on Round Ball Report. So we all striving, making our moves, trying to do this like Megatron type of thing, get everything together to make some big entity.
No, but if you guys didn't get that from that spiel right there, Wole is the real deal and is a big deal, and he's been doing a lot of great work covering this team for a long time. So I am pretty sure that I put his all of his information with social media and stuff in the description, but go check it out. You won't regret it. Very great content, and looking forward to more of the content that you put out in the future. And I see some comments. No problem. I see some comments right now from Roger Smith, Big Boy Diehard Fan Walker, Brandon Williams. Yes, I'm a year older now since the last time you guys saw me. But yeah, thank you guys for joining. And we'll start. We talked a little bit about this off camera, but we'll start with the Wizards, right? Because Russell Westbrook potentially could break Oscar Robertson's record for, I believe, most triple doubles in NBA history. And he's only 31, 32 years old. Absolutely amazing. Can you talk a little bit more about Russell Westbrook potentially breaking the streak or the record, and also his play as of late, right? MVP level play.
Yeah, I mean, to me, I said this before beginning of the season, when Russ was, you put me on record, I was a John guy, but I did state that if the Wizards got the real Russ, the Russ that, isn't scared, isn't timid, just plays his game, is the aggressive over the top Russ, you're getting a better player. You're getting to me, to be honest with you, he would be automatically the player on that basketball team, regardless of what Bradley Beal does as a scorer, because what Russ does is he does so much. He brings so much energy. He's a leader. He's got passion. You see it. You see with the young guys, what he's doing with the basketball team. So, in the beginning of the season, a lot of people go to injuries, but I saw more than injuries as an individual who's coached basketball, who's hooped. It's more of, you can tell he's lacked a little confidence. Like the jumper wasn't going down. Like he was thinking about it. Like he started to lose a little confidence. And then once he started getting a couple of games in a row and a little bit of health, but I feel like there's more confidence than anything. A couple of games in a row, you saw Russ being Russ, right? And I think that's what happened. Woke up and you're seeing this guy. And he's helping this team get to a point where I feel like they're one of the more dangerous teams in the Eastern Conference. And to get to this point of the triple doubles, I've always kind of like the triple doubles in this era is a little bit easier than it used to be back in the day. The point guard has the ball like predominantly most of the time into this modern this style of basketball. I grew up watching Magic Johnson's my favorite player of all time. You watch tape on Magic, there's times when he's not touching the ball, on a set. You know what I'm saying? And, nowadays point guards do it. So that's why you see triple doubles at an alarming rate compared to what we saw back in the day. But that's not undermining what Russ has done. Like, to get a triple double is tough. And to do it as a point guard is amazing. Like, especially the rebound aspect of it, how he goes to rebounds. I don't want to hear people saying, well, the centers allow him to get rebounds. No, when a guard goes up there to get a rebound, that means he wants that smoke and he's all about it. So you gotta get the dude his flowers. I feel like he's a guy that deserves all the respect. He deserves all the accolades he's getting at this point, because to me, if it was for Russell Westbrook and his play of late, we're not talking about the Wizards potentially being the AC, moving up to the AC right now. We're not talking about that. And that's as much as, and again, it's not a knock on Bill, Rui, or whoever. It's just that Russ is, if you get this Russ, people don't like, you have to understand scoring is great, but what this Russ brings is more than scoring. He can score the basketball. I don't care about the percentage. He can score the basketball. He can dish it out. He defends. He rebounds. He does everything you want in a basketball player. So, and he plays a passion. And one thing that's most important that you need with a guy like that in the postseason is that when he's playing against the monsters of the NBA, that's the Embiids, the LeBrons, the Kevin Durant, the Kyrie Irving, he's going into that situation thinking that he's the best basketball player. And you can't say that about many people. He'll go into a situation and not be scared of the person on the opposition next to him. So if anything, that player gets in the postseason, any team in the Eastern Conference, especially if they match up against Brooklyn, they should be scared.
Yeah, I really don't know what more there is to add to that. You basically covered all the bases there. But I will say this: I don't agree with Max Kellerman a lot or much. But when he said this a couple years back, and I definitely agree. Russell Westbrook is arguably the most entertaining player to watch in the NBA. Oh. He just goes all out every single rep, every single play. And what more do you want out of an NBA player? And especially in today's era where everybody's taking nights off like it's nothing. Kyrie Irving, man, I don't know how many games he's missed this season alone, right? And hasn't just been because of injury. But yeah, Russell Westbrook, I know early in the season, I was one of those people who said that the trade was probably going to be more of a push with maybe the Wizards slightly coming out on top. But at this point, Wizards were obviously the winners in the trade. And Russell Westbrook, we can like what John Wall brought here in DC for a decade plus, right? We can appreciate that, and we still do, right? DC still loves him, but at the same time, Russell Westbrook is a completely different player, in my opinion. He's an MVP type player, someone that John Wall, was not one here in DC. I don't think he was. And go ahead.
It's a different mentality. You know what I mean? Like, I think John Wall, I love John Wall. I think he's one of the better point guards, period. Like, I do think that he's an individual that can win a championship the way he plays basketball, the way he plays the point guard position. But when you look at Russell Westbrook in terms of how he plays basketball, it's the mentality. It's the mentality. Like, John Wall has a tough mentality, and not taking that away from him. But Westbrook plays with a different edge. It's hard. Like, on defense, like, he's going to try to check the best player like 24/7. Like, that's what it is. It's like he's going at you. It's the Mamba. I mean, the late great Kobe. It's a Mamba. It's really a Mamba mentality. It really is.
He looked up
to him too. He looked up to him. Yeah, it's a real Mamba mentality. You see it. It's like, all right, if he gets dunked on, like, he doesn't care. He's coming right back at you. Like, not like the woe is me. Oh man, people saw me get dunked on. No, he's not like that. He's like, all right, you dunked on me. You know what? Stay under that rim. I ain't going you. Like, that's who Russ is. Like, that's what it is. So, like, it's hard. Like, when we compare the two, like, again, I thought, because what I saw Russ the year before in Houston, I didn't like what I saw. And I was thinking, like, John, like, we're just going to win this trade because, again, I didn't like what I saw with Russ. But the Russ in DC is what especially in this stretch, is the Russ that people have seen. I'm saying, yeah, you seen it in the OKC, basically. Now, granted, like, there's things about Russ that he hasn't gotten back because again, he used to be more of a I won't say he was a great shooter, but he was a better shooter than what he is. He was a better free throw shooter. I mean, at times he used to be 89, close to 80, 85 free throw line. So those are things that he can like get situated. But I think in terms of mentality and in terms of not being scared, like who cares if y'all miss a shot? He's all the way back. Like he's all the way back.
Yeah. What's up, Washington's Roundtable Football? And you talked about how a lot of people were talking about how Russell Westbrook was stat padding and the rebounds that he got were easy rebounds, right? And while I get like your point earlier that in today's NBA, stat padding is very much a thing. I think we've seen that across the league. But I don't know if you saw the highlight from I think it was Saturday night where Russell Westbrook. There was three like
I saw that.
6'8", 6'9" players that were going up for a rebound. Russell Westbrook just found a way to get the ball at the very end. Yeah. This really shows you the kind of effort that he puts in every single play, right? It's not even.
Not a rebounding. He's not a rebound. I don't believe in rebounding. I mean, patting your stats. That's one thing I don't believe in. Like, I feel like if you're a point guard and you're getting boards, that's not stat padding. That's not like that's too hard to do to let like a center to say, you know what? All right, Russ is coming. Let me not get this rebound. Like, right? That's too much. That's too much work. You know what I mean? Assists, I feel like nowadays are a little easier because the point guard always has the ball in his hand. Like, again, back in the day, it wasn't as like they would run sets. Like you would throw the ball, you may not get it. Jason Kidd, to me, who was like the most impactful triple-double dude probably since Magic, like most impactful triple-double dude. When he got a triple-double, like you knew, he had his hands in the game. And he wasn't even scoring 20, 30. He was scoring like 15, but he owned the game. Like he owned the game. He played defense, he rebound, he pushed the break. Like he just was a basketball savant. And he never Jason Kidd would go stretches where like to a point bringing the ball up where he's not holding the ball for 24 like for 15 seconds out the shot clock. He's pretty much it all and then rotating back. Nowadays you see James Harden, who I love too. James Harden's holding the ball forever. Now he's creating for somebody for an assist. So the assists are a little different compared to what I grew up watching. You know what I mean? People are now it's more easier to get 15 some odd assists because the ball is in your hands for so long. Yeah, no, the great expertise just exuding out of you on the screen right now. But no, I definitely agree, man. Again, stat padding is very much a thing in today's NBA. James Harden is also the same guy who, if he passed to one of his teammates and ultimately that teammate missed the three or something, he would be frustrated and get mad at him on the next play. Like he's also that kind of player. So but Russell Westbrook, getting back to him, is an absolute beast, and I'm glad that he's here in DC. And I think he's perfect alongside Bradley Beal, and hopefully, I believe this team is a legitimate wing player away from being one of the legit contenders in the league. At this point, I don't know if you feel the same way, but I do want to mention Hawk. Thank you for joining. Okay, go ahead. No, I agree. I think they're close. I think they're a good coach away.
That too.
For being a decent team, I think they're a good coach away. I feel like I think Rui can be a good power forward. I think Rui, if he was drafted by a different team, everyone would know who Rui is. Put it that way. I think Rui is misused. I watched the game. Rui was. I mean, again, all you gotta do is watch some of these dudes play college basketball, and you kind of get a glimpse of what they are about. Rui's not a three-point shooter. He's not a three-point shooter, but he's an intelligent basketball player. That's what one thing he is. He's a very intelligent basketball player. But when you use players and put them in situations where there's not their strength, you having them shoot threes when they're not good three-point shooters. Like why not? Rui has already showed you that he's been a decent post player, but you don't really utilize him in the post as much. So I feel like they have the makeup, to be honest with you, of having a decent solid three. Like they really do have the makeup of having a big in a sense, but it's all predicated on Brad and Russ. If Scott Brooks allowed Rui to do some things in the block to kind of get more points, this team would be scarier. They really would be, but it's more predicated on two individuals. Which I mean, Brad is scoring 50 almost every other night, and it seems like it. And he's become such a smooth scorer. And you got Russ, doing Russ things. So it's I guess for him it's maybe difficult to incorporate Rui a little bit more in the offense, but. The problem when you're a championship coach, when you are like a coach that's just trying to get to the postseason, then it's more of an issue.
Yeah. It'd be great if Davis Bertans could also be more consistent,
Yeah, I
right?
mean
After
that
getting
too,
that
man.
$80 million in
I
the off
totally agree.
season and showing up out of shape.
I
Yep,
agree. That tells you a lot about a player, though, doesn't it? Though it tells you a lot.
it
Like
does.
all you do is one thing. Like this is the thing. All you do is one thing. You're not asked to. You're not asked to create shots on ISO or whatever. You're asked to
Not
do
even a 3 and
one
D
thing.
player, just a
A 3D
three,
player. You're just
three
a 3
player.
player. You see this, and this is what my issue is with the NBA. I have a big issue with the NBA. It's just there's so many
Me too.
talented dudes that are sitting that are better than Dallas. Dallas 80 mil. Think about it. He's getting 80 mil. I'm gonna name a DMV. We DMV. I'm gonna name an area dude. I always name and everybody gets on me. Michael Beasley is way better than Dallas Bertans. Way better than Dallas Bertans. Michael Beasley can give you 50 on just balling. He's a scorer. That's what he does. Michael Beasley may not play defense. He may not. But does Dallas Bertans play defense?
No.
Because Michael Beasley can mid-range shoot you, can take you off the dribble, can score, all that. Like, and he can shoot threes, he can do all that. But he's not in the league, and Dallas Bertans is getting $80 million for doing one thing, though. And he does one thing well, but for doing one thing. Funny NBA, man. The NBA is very fun.
Yeah, yeah, it is. And don't get me started on this is another problem that happened with the NBA, but getting ejected from games for just talking back at the refs now. That's sort of become a thing. But also everybody jacking at three like they're
God, like
Steph Curry or Kevin Durant or like
that's an issue of mine too. Everybody's not Steph.
Yeah. Speaking of, I'll get to that a little bit later. My feelings on Steph Curry, hopefully, because I don't know if you know this. I don't know if you've been keeping tabs on Twitter or anything, but let's just say I think Steph Curry is slightly overrated, and I think he's
really?
Yeah, I do, and I don't think because this is just something that came to mind because I have been in this sort of a YouTube comment battle over the last couple of days. Every second I've gotten, to relax a little bit. And actually, you know what? Let me just ask you here, because it's something that like a lot of people are talking about. Steph Curry, what do you make of his performance this year with the Warriors? And personally, this is why I said he's slightly overrated, because he's never been the most important, most valuable player when his team needed him the most in the NBA Finals. That's why he doesn't have any NBA Finals MVPs. That's why Andre freaking Iguodala won the 2014-2015
I don't think
NBA
she got
Finals
that one.
MVP.
I thought Steph should got that one. Only got it because he played defense on LeBron. I get how he got it. But
see, if you heard what I said earlier, I said most valuable. Andre Iguodala is, in my opinion, watching every minute of those finals when I used to watch every minute of all NBA games around the league. Andre Iguodala's defense to me meant a lot more than Steph Curry's shooting in that series. I don't know if you have a different take on that.
I think it did because you're checking LeBron. No, I agree. In that series, it was definitely important because he pretty much, I won't say shut down, but LeBron was shooting some bad. He had some bad shooting percentages against Iggy. It was way more important for Iggy to do that because LeBron goes off, they lose the series. So I definitely get your point. I get your point.
Yep.
No,
because everybody dogs Bradley Beal for putting up empty stats, especially early in the season, right? And the Wizards just losing, and he puts up 40, 50. Steph Curry is doing the same thing, but like,
good point.
I don't hear anything about her.
Okay, so this is the difference.
They have a worse record.
I'm gonna give you a difference. I'm gonna give you a difference. I'm gonna give you like I think the clip. I'll give you the difference though. This is in this aspect because they're horrible. They're horrible bad. One thing, Steve Kerr's an overrated coach too. That you want to talk about overrated? That's overrated. Yeah, but if you're looking at
team,
that too. But you're looking at Steph. Other than Draymond, which they allow, Draymond. I don't even want to call Draymond a player. He's not really. He's a role player. Steph is the only scorer.
Used to be, people forget though, 2014, 2017,
Draymond,
that time,
I'm going to tell you
he was really good.
You know why, Draymond? I'm going to tell you why. Because it's this simple with Draymond. Draymond needs Clay and Steph together. Like, that's what makes Draymond a better basketball player because what it does is it allows Draymond to get wide. His shots are more wide open. He was a better shooter. Don't get me wrong. Like, I watched Draymond Michigan State. Like you said, that confidence. But he went from being a good player in terms of as a good player. Like he's been a good player too. I don't know what to call this. Like I can't, because Game T is a solid good player because he's a great passer. Like Draymond, I don't want to trash Draymond. He's a great
defender,
passer, like and good rebounder and good defender. So in terms of an overall basketball player, he's a good basketball player. He's still a good basketball player. As an offensive player, yeah, I feel comfortable in saying this. He's trash. Like trash as an off. I've never, and I don't know where he wasn't this bad before. I don't know how this happened because it's not like his game is predicated on being athletic or whatever. He's athletic. He's still athletic enough at this age. So I don't know where his game is gone in terms of shooting the basketball. But going back to Steph, I know what you're saying with the stack chasing. He's also in the Western Conference, was a little bit harder to like kind of have. So his record is still over 500 in the West. Like over 500 in the West is still pretty decent. When Bradley Beal,
I would argue he has good skill players around him too. That's my point.
Oubre?
It's not that
you like Kelly Oubre.
I mean,
like don't say you like Oubre. Don't say you like Oubre. Don't do that.
I'm not saying he's I'm not saying he's on Bradley Beal's level or anything. I'm just saying people act like
he's
the
got
Warriors
Wiggins.
team right now around. Yeah, Wiggins is he's not number one pick worthy, but he's solid. He's solid.
Wiggins used to average 20 a game. Like it's not. I don't knock Wiggins. I just think that the team is predicated. The way the team made up and the way they're coached to what it is. To be honest with you, it's coached to a point where they need two. Like they need two shooters. Like they need those two guys. They need Steph and Clay. They've been built that way. That's just what it is. They're built that way. So when one is missing, you saw this. You saw it in the NBA Finals. Like when one is missing, it's terrible. When Steph is out, it doesn't rock this in the postseason when they're playing certain teams. Same thing with Clay. They need both, like for that offense to work. So and now if you're talking about bringing in another coach, then we can see how they may have to change their offense. But the way their offense is constructed, what you see is how they run. They run a motion offense on curls, and the only dude that can do what they do, what they need to do is Steph. That's the only, you know what I mean? It's not built on isolation, go one-on-one like that. You know what I'm saying? Steph gets isolation moves, but it's off curls and whatever, and he can still go ISO, but it's not built off that. While if you look at the Wizards with Bill, there's a lot of ISO sets for him. Like they're ISO sets where he can go to the basket. The spacing is there for it. So it's a little different. But yeah, I mean, I get it. Like I think Steph, what he's doing is crazy in terms of scoring, but I don't look at Steph as an MVP candidate. I think if that's the discussion we're talking about, no, I don't think so. I'm not looking at that. And I like Steph. Like again, Steph took out my Hoyers and Davidson. So when he took out my Hoyers and Davidson, and I watched that, every minute of it was hating on him, then ended up cheering this dude. So like, but the dude is not an MVP candidate. I don't like giving MVPs to people who don't win. So you're not. I'm not that person. But I do think what he's doing in terms of this season to me is almost it's comparable to, I don't know if your listeners remember, but comparable to when Dwayne Wade got hurt. And Dwayne Wade got hurt one year. He got hurt. And this is before LeBron. And Dwayne Wade, and people started thinking that Dwayne was done and whatever. And he came back and he torched the league in terms of, being an offensive juggernaut. I think this is consistent to Steph. Steph missed that whole year, and now he's on get back. He wants the league to know, like, all right, I'm still here. Forget the wins. You can tell it's not about wins. It's not about wins. You can tell. Like that game, he scored 49. It's not about wins. So I'm gonna let you know, it's not about wins for Steph right now. It's just not.
Yeah,
watching is not about wins.
I agree. I think so. Yeah, and I also admit, about the Warriors record right now. They're technically a little bit better in the West. So I'll give you that. My thing is though. So going back to the initial claim that I made that Steph Curry was slightly overrated was because of the fact that even early this season, there was talks about how Steph Curry was the second best point guard of all time and how Steph Curry was an MVP candidate early in the season. And just stuff like that really rubbed me the wrong way. And again, and then there was also talk even a couple years back when he had the back-to-back MVP seasons and, it was obviously very good in the league, and the Warriors were racking up wins and stuff on how he was at LeBron's level, and just stuff like that has really rubbed me wrong. Like over the last couple of years, I don't know if you feel the same way. But
I do feel that. No, I agree. I mean, I never looked at Steph as a player that was on the level of LeBron. Like I won't do that,
or even a KD. Yeah.
Or no, he's not a KD. No, this is what you know he's on a level of KD. And I love Steph. You know what I'm saying? I love Steph. When KD got there, you knew what it was. You knew what it was. It wasn't come on. It wasn't. He deferred. He even deferred. Like, so you already know he's not on that level. And they needed, and Draymond said it before, they needed KD to beat LeBron. They didn't say, "Oh, we good with our team." They needed KD to beat LeBron. So no,
I would have lost in 2014, 2015 if
exactly.
If the Cavs had one of either Kevin Love or Kyrie Irving.
Yeah, they lost that one too. I agree. So I don't put Steph on those two on their level. But what I will say is that Steph, like, with all the talk, the greatest shooter I've ever seen, like greatest shooter I've ever seen. Just also because what he with that though. Basketball.
Well, with that though, again, like, it's so funny how we're just going off on like a whole Steph Curry with this conversation right now when it's the Washington Football Weekly. But we'll get to the team a little bit later.
Yeah, sure.
With that as well, I would argue that Kevin Durant's a better shooter all time than Steph Curry. For Steph Curry, listen. For Steph Curry, he's by far the greatest 3-point shooter of all time. But in my opinion, if you say shooter, that is all encompassing. That is, regular
mid-range
jump shots, mid-range jump shots, layup, everything you want to think of. I think Kevin Durant is better, but I don't know if you side with the guys like.
I don't think he's a better shooter than Steph.
Okay.
I'm not a Stephen A. Smith dude, but I don't. I believe that Steph is the best shooter because one, if he don't miss mid-range. There's a difference between shooters and 3-point shooters. Like there's a difference, right? To your point. Steph don't miss mid-range shots. He really don't miss mid-range shots. Like he don't shots, but he don't miss them. Like, you ever see him come off the curl and take a mid-range shot for Steph is like a layup. Like, literally, that is like really a layup for the dude. Like, he can shoot mid-range shots on it as much as he shoots the 3-point shot. It's all about this analytic crap. But you know what I'm saying? But Kevin Durant, I don't like Kevin Durant is scored and stuff. And when I mean that, but Kevin Durant is a mismatch. He's a unicorn. Like, I tell people all the time, like, Kevin Durant is arguably, you could take in any era, is the most difficult dude to ever defend in life. Ever. I don't care what era, ever. Like, because you're talking about a 7-foot dude, move like a 2-guard, can hit you with a mid-range, got the 3 game, easy to your point, got the 3 game, got a quick first step, can finish, can do everything you want. Who could you ever put Kevin Durant to be to defer Kevin Durant? Nobody. There's nobody that you can say, oh, he's if he's Kevin Durant's height, he can go right by him. Like, the only person you could probably think of maybe is Giannis, right? But he gives Giannis 30 every time he see Giannis. Yeah. So it's just like when you look at Kate, when you look at a basketball player and think of like who is physically unguardable, it's Kevin Durant. Like, there's nothing you can do to stop a Kevin Durant. So I don't like comparing him to Steph.
Like him or hate him, right? But
he's an assassin. Like, that's an assassin. That's Slim Reaper is real. Like, that is real. You can like him, hate him. You can hate that he Twitter talking crap, or you got dummy accounts. You can hate all that all you want. But when you're on that basketball court, you're gonna respect that man's name. Like, you're gonna respect his name. That's real. You're gonna respect his name. Because when he's on that court, even coming back from an Achilles in a couple of years and whatnot, look what he's doing to the league now when he gets on that court. The man is dangerous. So in terms of just like being a prolific scorer, there's nobody. And even LB, there is nobody better than Kevin Durant as a fluent basketball scorer. You know what I'm saying? Like, Durant, the only scores I've seen in my lifetime is obviously Kobe, Jordan, KD, and Melo. To me, Melo was a fluent scorer. These are and KD is to me, there is nobody I see ever like bothering that dude as a defender. Like, no one's gonna ever bother him. He's 30 easy, and I feel like if he wanted, he's a player that if he wanted to win to lead the league in scoring, he can do it. If he wanted to, if he really, really wanted to, he can do it. Because you look at his points, and this is the difference between Kevin Durant and other scorers. Kevin Durant's points, he gets high points on limited shots, and I'm talking, and we're not even talking about getting fouled. efficient.
Mm-hmm.
We're not even talking about getting fouled. Like, I'm not even adding like the 10. If you look at the amount of free throws he gets, it's not even like that crazy. This man can get you 25, 30 with limited shots. These dudes nowadays, counting free throws, are really jacking the ball up about 30 more times. KD can get you shots and get you a bunch of baskets. Crazy.
Yep. Yeah, we did tie it back to the DMV boy there and KD, but
I did. Don't have
no,
to. I had to go back to KD.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, we'll see how things pan out at the end of the season. Approaching, but I do want to get to the Washington football team, right?
Yes,
and I want to get to all the news that has surrounded this team. First and foremost, because this stream was supposed to happen last week, I want to get very brief your thoughts on the Washington football team's draft selections as a whole. How good of a spot do you think Jamin Davis has right now behind that ferocious front four that we have? And can't forget about Matt Ioannidis as well, who I talk up almost every single week on this stream because I think he's arguably our best interior defensive lineman. But what are your thoughts on the Washington football team draft?
Great fit in terms of Jamin Davis. I think that I would give it a C+ because certain players I wasn't a big fan of drafting at that particular spot. Left tackle, I thought you could have got a different position. I mean, he's a guy that can help out in terms of Cosme. He can help out. If I don't see him, I see there's a chance that he may not even start. That's my issue. If you're not even starting as the second rounder, then I'm like, you could have got a player to start. But the cornerback from Minnesota wasn't a big fan of. Michigan fan. He transferred from Michigan, so it is what it is. And I love the wide receiver from North Carolina. I thought that was I think that guy Brown can start. I think he'll be able to start alongside of Scary. You can move Samuel into the slot. And I think that's a better fit for everybody. And I think they can be very dangerous. So I was happy with the draft in terms of they did get some players that I think they needed. I felt like even with the signing of Samuel, they needed still needed outside wide receiver, and they got one in Brown. Mm-hmm. And I think Davis with that speed, like you mentioned, with the front four, I think it's perfect, man. And to your point, Ioannidis is the best interior. Yep. And I think to your point, Ioannidis is the best interior. People just we gas up the Alabama walk. We love it so much. But the fact is, when he's on the football field, he creates most of the damage. So now you're getting that. You're getting Ioannidis. You have Ioannidis. You have Payne. You have Allen and Sweat interior. That rotation. We all know that those big guys help out the middle linebacker kid. Like you said, could be Rookie of the Year.
Yeah. I think I'm cutting out a little bit, guys. Sorry about that. But in terms of our draft picks, I agree with you. You hit the nail on the head. I see two legitimate players as of now from this draft class, and that's Jamin Davis and Dyami Brown. I think Dyami Brown, if he's not starting, within the first couple of weeks of the season, I think he will eventually start maybe at the midway point. I think he has all the potential that you want out of an NFL receiver. He has the size, the speed, is a deep threat, right? And something that we need on this team. And I think, like you said, pairing him with Curtis Samuel, with Scary Terry, then you also have some good depth guys, right? Adam Humphries and Cam Sims potentially, and Kelvin Harmon might be coming back. But I don't know. I don't know about you guys, but I kind of see that Kelvin Harmon might be in the same sort of situation as some other guys who've come off of major injuries in the past. And, us thinking that they'll be ready by training camp, but then it's week 3 and you're like, where's this guy? I feel like that's always happens with our team, but hopefully that's not the case. I think he has a lot of potential. And then Jamin Davis, man. Oof. I think a lot of people are talking about how he potentially could be a better linebacker in the NFL than Micah Parsons. And I don't know if I'm going to go there yet, but I think he has all the potential you want. He was a rising guy, right? Yeah. He was a rising guy in the draft, right? I think he was a third or fourth round projected pick at the start of the season, and then ultimately, obviously, became a first round pick.
Third.
Yeah. So I think he has all the potential you want.
Third rounder.
And and also with Jamin Davis, how many years in a row have we had linebackers who've been heavy-footed, right? Who can't cover tight ends, can't cover wide receivers, and we've all been in pain because of it. I mean, we tried. Zach Brown was good for a bit, right? Because he did have that speed, but then we also saw how he was terrible in coverage after that. So I'm just glad that we have someone like that at the linebacker position. Finally, since London Fletcher, really, we haven't had that guy. And I'll also say Cheeseman, I know a lot of people are making fun of his name and the fact that we got a long snapper in the 6th round NFL draft, but technically, long snapper was a need, and to get Ron Rivera said it was his favorite long snapper in the draft in the 6th round, covering that need. I think that was sort of a sneaky pick there that I actually kind of liked. And we'll see about the Penn State defensive end, who was at 235 pounds now. Shaka Toney might be a solid guy there. Micah Parsons said he was going to be a steal for us, but yeah, I mean, it was a good draft. We didn't get the quarterback that a lot of people thought we would going into it, but I don't know about you. I kind of like it because I don't think any quarterback we were going to get after maybe Justin Fields was going to be better than any of the guys we have right now.
I agree. I don't think they should have went quarterback. I think quarterback would have been forcing it. I feel like to get a quarterback in the draft, you gotta like the quarterback. A lot of teams, they just draft a quarterback just to draft a quarterback. You gotta like the quarterback. So if you don't like, you don't draft them. So I'm happy with the move, not going quarterback. Fitzpatrick had a good year with the Dolphins last season. So if he wins the job, then I think the Washington football fans should be comfortable. Again, you look at that roster the Miami had last season. They didn't have a Scary Terry. They didn't have Antonio Gibson. Had better tight end.
They didn't have our defensive line.
But now you're looking at they didn't have the defensive line. So now Fitzpatrick has an opportunity, just on the offensive side speaking. He can help the young wide receiver, and maybe he can help if he makes the team. A player like Antonio Gandy Golden, maybe he can showcase some talent. If you watch Fitzpatrick, he's a guy that throws the ball up. Oh, I like him. I like Antonio. He was a rookie. I think it's hard. I'll say this much: it is hard for him come from Liberty. He's not playing. He didn't go to a big school to go into season with no preseason. You're going through this COVID situation. Limited practice to really show what you can do. I think it's hard. I'm happy that these kids will, and some of the players from last season, they'll get an opportunity to have a real off season, and then we can kind of really dissect if he's ready for the NFL. It's just that it's so hard, especially when you come from Liberty. I get if you're coming from Bama, from North Carolina, some of these bigger schools, Ohio State or whatnot. You're the competition. You've seen the competition. Here, you come from Liberty. Now you get on into a situation where you have no preseason, no real camp. Like, it's hard to gauge what you can do and kind of play off of it. So I just want to see. I'm a big believer of what you do on Saturdays, and what he did on Saturdays in Liberty. He put up stats and he dominated. His position in college. So I want to see him get that opportunity in preseason. I want to see him in preseason. If I don't see it in preseason, I want to see it. If you don't do it in preseason, I don't want to see it. See you on the team, or I want to see it in the regular season. You got to do it in preseason for a player like him. So I feel like a player like Patrick will give young guys like that an opportunity. Like, I do agree with you about Kelvin Harmon. I just think that the injury situation, you got a guy. He's not a speed guy anyway. But when you have that kind of injury. And it's hard, man. You saw it was Bryce Love. It's hard to come back from ACL. Now, not everybody's Adrian. You know what I mean? Like, it's hard. So he's gonna have MVP to come back from an ACL and be a good, exactly, and try to be a contributing wide receiver, especially now where this team has drafted and signed certain wide receivers to help this team. It's like, okay, how can you really show your worth when you mentioned Humphrey, you got Brown, you got Samuels, you got Scary. That's 4. Like, now you're coming off an injury, so now you got to show that when you're coming off an injury, you got to show that you're healthy and that you're ready to be a dog. It's hard, man. It just is. And if you watch his clips, him coming out of breaks and whatnot, you can see he's still a little hurt. So I feel for him. I do, because he does have potential. I do. He showed talent that that year, his rookie year. So hopefully he gets it together. Hopefully he gets an opportunity to showcase his talent.
Yep. And moving on from the draft, I was wondering, Tone right here, Tone Redskins, Washington football team fan, talks about the offensive line, defensive line right here and how they've greatly improved and how we've very much built from the trenches when it comes to solidifying those two lines. I was wondering, looking at the team as a whole, what do you see as our biggest strengths right now, roster-wise, and our biggest weaknesses?
Defensive line, man, that's the biggest strength. That thing is real. Yeah. That defensive line arguably could be the best defensive line that football fans have seen in a long time. Because what I mean by that is like you have Chase Young and Montez Sweat. These dudes are potential studs and potential all-pro players at end. You got two of them. You know what I mean? Have very similar traits in terms of speed rushers with power and can just have playmaking ability. You know what I mean? So you already got two ends that can do that. You know what I'm saying? Then you were talking about the interior, which you just mentioned. You're missing Matt Ioannidis, arguably the best interior on the team. I'm gonna say this: you have three.
People forget that.
I'm with you. I'm with you. I am with you.
Tell the people out there. Tell the people out there.
They gotta know. I know. You should tell them. Let them know. Like that boy, that's a bad boy. Did they not see what he did to Zeke? They must have forgot. They must have forgot what he did to Zeke. So you add that. You add Matt Ioannidis. This is a rotation now. And think about it, teams don't have this kind of rotation. Yep. Matt Ioannidis, Deron Payne, Jonathan Allen, and Tim Settle. All of them could be starters on a different team. All of them. So you're rotating starters. So what I'm saying, like, and then you add in Young Boy Davis in middle, the front seven and Holcomb. You got speed. You went from being a slow defense, and no knock on Bostic and Pierre Louis, but you went from being a slow, I know, right? A slow front seven. Now you just got speed. You have speed around the board on that front seven. Your ends are fast. Payne big boy can run. You know what I mean? Like now you got 4-3, 4-4 speed, a middle linebacker who can cover, like you mentioned, who can cover. You got Holcomb. Now you can allow him to kind of just go crazy because now he got the middle linebacker that he can kind of work off of. Now you just got to get that. You got to make sure what you want to do with the other linebacker. Y'all was that Landon Collins moving down, playing outside. They already talked about he not doing that because Jack.
He's only gonna be a safety by name. He's
gonna stay a strong safety. I agree by name. I think, but you need to have him. There's no way. There's just no way. Cam Curl. There's no way. And Cam, you should be moving Cam Curl to free safety. So you have a situation where, to me, arguably front seven alone, that's the strongest. And on the offensive side of the ball, I think the strength on the offense might be the wide receivers. It's crazy, but it could be the wide receivers. Yeah. It could be. Like I feel like the draft like that. You got Samuels with speed. You got Brown now. You got Scary. Now you like Scary's not alone. Scary was in the island chilling. He was like, man, I need some friends to play with. Now Scary's like, you know what? I got some dogs now. Like we can go chill. I got some dogs now. Like you saw how much
sweat. So, like he was drenched in every single game because of how hard he had to go because he was the only legitimate option on this offense.
It's terrible. It was terrible. Yeah. So now, like, and maybe wide receiver, I'm looking at it and like, all right, still on the offensive line, like they're building on the O-line. They're doing a good job. And I guess we'll talk about who they're trying to bring in. But it's still question marks. Like there's still question marks within the offensive line. Like we don't know if Brandon Sheriff is still going to be here. Like, you know, people are a little mad at deal, so we don't know if he's still going to be here. Yeah, Morgan Moses. You know, Morgan should still be here. Rui is great center. You're looking at now. We don't know is Eric Flowers going to man that guard position, or you know, are we going with Schweitzer, or he's played well last year. Or you know, is Cosme maybe like will he or even Charles? Well, like Sadiq Charles be moved inside. Like there's so many missing. There's so many moving elements. We don't know what's going to happen. So, like it's hard for me to say. Like it sounds good in terms of depth, but we're talking about a rookie. And we'll talk 2 rookies. Let's be real. We're talking about 2 rookies. It's Sadiq Charles and Cosme. Sadiq Charles was basically a rookie. So we don't know what they really can do on the football field. We don't know. We know what the other guys can do. We don't know. So it's hard for me to know about the offensive line. I want to see those guys together in unison. But I do think that the wide receivers, though, I'm a believer. Like I think, those boys may give some secondaries some fits, and we'll see from there. And I think we do that, and they could use Gibson in the pass game. They can be real dangerous.
Hey, McKissick, can't forget about McKissick too. He had 500 yards McKissick last year.
Oh yeah, McKissick. Receiver. See, I want to see Gibson. I want to see Gibson in the pass game. Me too. He was a receiver in Memphis. I want to see it. Like that's why I had issues with Scott Turner. I was like, people were like, okay, he was getting better. About like, you know what? You got a wide receiver playing running back. Like at least, like let's see against a linebacker one-on-one. Let's get that. Let's get that type of action. We see that with the Saints and Kamara, and Kamara doesn't have the wide receiver skills that he has. I mean, this is a wide receiver. So I want to see I want to see this. So that's what I want. That's what I want. I want to see Gibson and wide like him lined up against a linebacker. That's what I want.
Man, well, like you're absolutely preaching to the choir right now. Antonio Gibson, you guys know who've been sticking with the channel for a long time now. Right after he was drafted, maybe a couple weeks after he was drafted, made a video, talked about how Gibson could potentially be our next Alvin Kamara. They were drafted in the same point in the draft, right? Late third round. Very, very limited snaps in college as running backs, right? Very good pass catching threats, both of them. Very good runners between the tackles. And I thought it was an apt comparison. And I think as the season went along, a lot of people started to realize that could be a potential, not just a potential thing, but reality here in DC. And I think, like you said, he's even a better pass catcher, if we're going to be honest, than Alvin Kamara when it just comes to strictly catching the ball because of the fact that he was a receiver. But yeah, man, Antonio Gibson, I think he's going to go absolutely off this year. If you guys play fantasy football, draft Antonio Gibson. That's all I got to say. Especially when you have a guy who has supporting pieces on an offense as well with Terry McLaurin, but also Curtis Samuel, De'Ami Brown, who I think we all agree is going to have a big impact this year. J.D. McKissick as well, but probably taking a backseat this year after, Antonio Gibson has a year under his belt now. I'm looking forward to seeing what Gibson has. Going back to the original question, though, when it comes to strengths and weaknesses, it's so funny because on my notes, I even said it's crazy that I'm going to say this, but wide receiver is definitely a strength in my opinion as well. Terry McLaurin, right? Curtis Samuel, De'Ami. I mean, they're pretty good. They're pretty good. And I think I mentioned this on a past stream, but if you look at receiving cores across the league, this Washington football team has a chance by the end of the season of having a top 10, if not higher, wide receiver core. If you look at the totality of the group, I know that sounds very far-fetched, but go for a lot of people who are watching this right now, go look up receiving cores across the league. And I mean, Washington, again, if all the potential that we have right now pans out, I think we could be really good and really give Ryan Fitzpatrick some weapons to work with. And obviously defensive line and now front seven, I think we could say, because Jamin Davis is back there, Cole Holcomb. And the reason I was kind of basically was in disgust after you said John Bostic was because, as a lot of people on this channel know, I'm not a huge John Bostic fan. And I think his best spot on this team would be a backup linebacker and not a starter. But we shall see if the team agrees this year with guys like Cole Holcomb and Jamin Davis now. But front seven, definitely a strength. DBs, I think, are becoming more and more of a strength, right? Kendall Fuller isn't a top corner in this league, but he's very good. William Jackson III, though, in my opinion, could actually be a top corner in this league behind that defense. And the fact that he has all the potential in the world already. Showed a lot on that Bengals defense that was bad too. So I think he could be lights out this year and sort of have a James Bradbury type impact. And weaknesses, Tone mentioned it. Quarterback. Yeah, Ryan Fitzpatrick, though. But you said this earlier, and I agree. The last 2 years, a lot of people don't realize this, had been arguably Ryan Fitzpatrick's best not just statistical, but overall play, right, in his entire career. He's been really good.
Mm-hmm.
Sort of aged like fine wine at the tail end of his career, but no. So hopefully, it doesn't become a weakness, and our other strengths on offense will mask that weakness in particular. And then tight end, I'm still waiting to see who we're gonna have as our backup tight end. Samus Reyes, a lot of people are talking about him. I mean, you have all the athletic traits, but yeah. Thank you, Wole. I appreciate that.
I'm not doing
John
that.
Bates, though.
I'm not doing that.
What are your thoughts on John Bates? I think it's. I'm higher on him than Mr.
I don't like
Workout Warrior.
I'm not higher on him. I'm with you. Like, I'm not for everybody wants to be the next Antonio Gates or whatever. Like, I'm not into that. Like, you got to show me something. Like, I can't. You got to show me something. I'm not going to be. I'm not going to be okay. He can work out. Oh my, he played basketball.
Yeah.
The
Cowboys
play basketball. Like, I don't need that, man. Like, you said Rico Gathers. You said that. Didn't he play for? Who did he play for?
Cowboys, right?
Cowboys, right? But
former,
where he play? Didn't he play ball somewhere? Where did he play ball at?
Baylor. I think it was Baylor.
Oh, okay, yeah. Okay. I think you're talking about. I know you're talking. Yeah. So everybody wants that. I'm not into all that. So, but I would take. What I would take. I wanted to take a couple. A tight end earlier. I wanted to tight end in the second round, but they didn't do that. That's what I wanted, but they didn't. So obviously they're trying to make room for this kid. I think Reyes is going to be the guy, to be honest with you. I think they're really going to make him the secondary wide receiver. Bates will be more of a blocker, but we'll see. Maybe he'll pan out and be what Ron Rivera thinks he could be, but I think he'll be the blocking tight end. But I think they're really going to give this kid an opportunity to kind of see if he can be the next Jimmy Graham, if he can be the next Antonio Gates, Tony Gonzalez type of player. So.
Okay. And as a lot of people saw from the thumbnail, we are going to talk about Aaron Rodgers. And I know a lot of you guys have been waiting for that talk. And I'm happy to now not hold my tongue any longer on this whole topic. But I want to first get your thoughts on all the rumors swirling around Aaron Rodgers, right? I mean, a lot of us hear the Bobby McClain rumors and the Charles Leonard rumors. But I think Aaron Rodgers is sort of taking this whole town by storm, even as not being a member of the Washington football team or not being up for a visit with this team. But what are your thoughts on that whole situation in Green Bay? And do you think it's only a matter of time before he is the next starting quarterback for the Washington football team?
I don't think he'll come. He's not coming here. So I'm gonna dead that for everybody else. Aaron Rodgers is not coming to DC. Don't see it coming. Don't see it happening. But I do think they've done Aaron Rodgers dirty in Green Bay. I think they've done him very dirty. But I don't think he's coming. Yeah. We did the same, and then we with my man Watson. I'm not doing this no more. I'm not doing this. We did this, my man. We did it with him, and we went crazy. You know what I mean? And that's a kid I wanted. I'm not gonna lie. Where was going on. That's a kid that I wanted. So, and we didn't do it. And I love Aaron. I think Aaron is dope. I think Aaron is
MVP.
With this core, he can be phenomenal. I really believe it. He can be MVP. He can do whatever. But if you weren't, I'm gonna say this again. If you weren't going to do it, and if you weren't going to do it for a quarterback who was 26 years old and literally build with a young nucleus with this quarterback in Watson, and this is before all this crap went out. You do that, then I don't see you trying to do this, make a move with Aaron Rodgers. Therefore, I don't really look at Aaron Rodgers as a real possibility. And plus, Aaron Rodgers has his own list. He wants to. Washington is not on his list for real. So it's a two-part situation. You think, well, not really on his. He's not. They're not. They're trying to again. Okay. You have people like Stephen A. Smith trying to gas it up.
Continue further before I get into my thoughts. Continue. Yeah. Sorry, I don't mean to cut you off.
No, I'm done. I'm done.
Okay. So
no, I'm done. Actually, I'm done.
with Aaron Rodgers, right? This guy is arguably the best player in the NFL right now. The reason why I'm about to say what I'm about to say is because of all the talk on Twitter, and then even Chris Russell, who I respect, but he's absolutely wrong on this topic, saying, "Oh, trading 2 first-round picks, 2 second-round picks, and potentially a defensive tackle, maybe like a Settle and a Fitzpatrick. We shouldn't agree to that sort of trade with Aaron Rodgers." Are you insane? Are you insane? Aaron freaking Rodgers, the MVP, the reigning MVP, not a guy who was an MVP 4 or 5 years ago, the reigning MVP. I don't care if he's 38 years old. He could play until he's 43, 44, 45, just like Tom Brady. He's that kind of quarterback. He's not one that's known for his, speed and stuff. Obviously, he's pretty elusive in the pocket and stuff. But Aaron Rodgers here in DC, I'm just gonna get this out of the way, would be absolutely we're a Super Bowl contender. And I think you even agree with that, right? But in terms of where we differ, I guess, is just the realistic chances that can happen.
I totally agree.
I will say with Aaron Rodgers, I would differ though. Like if he were to have a list, I don't know if he does, but if he were to have a list, much like Russell Wilson had a list, I think Washington would be up there. I think Denver would be up there. I think Washington would be up there. I think potentially the 49ers before the draft for Trey Lance would have been up there. I think these teams would have been up there. And I think Washington, if I don't mean to take the easy take and agree with Stephen A, because I believe this from the very beginning. I think the 2 teams that are best for Aaron Rodgers right now are, and I'll put the Dolphins too in there, but 2 legitimate best teams are the Broncos and the Washington football team. Like I even posed that on Instagram. Like, do you want to debate that? I don't think if he were to be moved, obviously.
I think the Broncos are one. I think the Broncos would. One thing, Washington's a great one. I mean, for him, I think in terms of a place where what's good for Aaron Rodgers. Yeah, I mean, Washington is okay. Washington is a great situation for any dominant quarterback. You got a stud and scary. You got just drafted a young wide receiver. I mean, Washington's it's an ideal situation if you're a stud quarterback. Like if you are a stud quarterback, it's a great situation. But I just don't think that it's possible. I don't think it will happen. I don't think this organization will do it. But I do agree with Ken to the point of if you have a chance to get Aaron Rodgers, you get Aaron Rodgers. If you really, I'm with you. Like if you have a chance to get Aaron Rodgers, get Aaron Rodgers. I mean, that's what. If you believe that you're one player away from going to the Super Bowl, then yes, you get Aaron Rodgers. And I think no one's going to ever complain about it or feel a certain way. I wouldn't feel a certain way if they got Aaron Rodgers. So I think nobody would. Like, this is a guy that, like you said, like to me, has worked with less for so long. So you give him, and scary Terry, like a Jamal, like how we saw Adams.
Yeah. Well, I also don't mean to cut you off here. Well, like on that specific point about like him not having enough, a lot of people talk about, Devontae Adams, Aaron Jones, offensive line, spectacular. Like if you just look at the offensive skill players, you're telling me they would be where they're at right now without a guy like Aaron Rodgers being at the quarterback position. Like you got to factor that in as well. And then you consider the coach, Matt LaFleur, and how he's racked up the wins over the last couple of years. Again, that wouldn't have been the case if you didn't have Aaron Rodgers. So you have to look at the effect that the quarterback is bringing to a team, to the surrounding players, before really understanding like, he has a bunch of talent around him. You know what I mean? Like it's sort of like the LeBron effect in the NBA.
No, and I agree. I think that when you look at the Packers, I mean Devontae Adams, I feel like he got better because of Aaron Rodgers. So I do agree with you. I think he got better because of Aaron Rodgers. But I do think he's number one. I think he's number one. Yeah. He's legit number one. But the other receivers, if you look at them, they're not good. Like, I don't care anybody. I'm going to be honest with you. The other wide receivers aren't good, even though they get open. But Aaron Rodgers throws them open. Like, that's a difference. He throws folks open. So Aaron Rodgers is elite. Again, for me, though, I'm on this old school premise of football anyway. I've always been like this. I'm so for showing people that you can win a championship with like a dominant defense, an adequate, good quarterback, and an offensive line. You just play hard balls to the wall. You saw. I keep telling people like when Seattle won the championship. Yeah, Bucks. We'll talk about Tom Brady being elite. That wasn't elite Tom Brady. Like that wasn't elite Tom Brady.
Maybe in the playoffs, yes.
Like that championship run.
Not in the Super Bowl, yeah.
I'm talking about in the playoffs, yeah. Exactly. So when you look at when Russ won the Super Bowl, right? I was a game manager. That wasn't Russ that we know now. That was game managing Russ. That Legion of Boom won the defense. That Lynch won the Super Bowl. Other than maybe I say this, other than the last some odd years, there's only a couple quarterbacks in terms of franchise quarterbacks who that's Tom Brady, because that's redundant, right? That's redundant, and Pat Mahomes. The rest you can name Peyton Manning. That Super Bowl with Denver, that wasn't Peyton Manning. That was the Denver Broncos. Peyton Manning didn't even have an arm.
That's my guy too.
He didn't even have an arm. So yeah, I love Peyton, and I was happy Peyton won with Denver, but I watched and I was like, that was the Denver Broncos. That was Von Miller. That was Von Miller. All right, so like I'm cool with not having like a quarterback. Like an Aaron Rodgers, because as great as Drew Brees is, he only has one Super Bowl. As great as Aaron Rodgers is, he has one Super Bowl. And again, I'm not putting that blame on Aaron Rodgers. I love Aaron Rodgers. Again, I think Green Bay has done him dirty. Like they've done him dirty. But we can name so many quarterbacks that everybody has talked about within this era of football. Two quarterbacks that have there's only two quarterbacks, Brady, Manning. And pretty much, I just mentioned Mahomes. Breeze had one years ago, but that's like a while ago. Like if you look at even in that whole little, you got Joe Flacco who won Super Bowl. Is Joe Flacco elite?
That was the question back then. No,
you know what I mean. Like you got some, like you got quarterbacks that Russ wasn't elite when he won. There's so many quarterbacks that have won Super Bowls, but we always talk about this elite thing. Like you got to have this guy. I know. Again, it's great to have a guy. You know what I mean? Yeah. But it's awesome. I'm telling you, it's awesome when you got this situation Washington's brewing right now. Like, and you got on defense that can do damage. Like, they're arguably, if you look at what the Ravens and these other teams have done, like back in the day, like this defensive front could be specially dominating teams. You know what I'm saying? So.
Yeah, well, I agree with you there. In terms of realistic chances. Yeah, this team, I think Ron Bear is staying committed to the idea that we're going to build this team so then whatever quarterback we bring in arguably could take us, to a Super Bowl. And I think he's sticking by that. I don't know if I necessarily agree with it, although I am a huge Ron Rivera guy. But yeah, all the comments in the chat. Hawk, I see you commenting. Thanks for commenting, bro. Tone, Redskins fan as well. Outlaw Kings. Yeah, and I mean, if we could pull the trigger on Aaron Rodgers, we have to we have to do it. You're reading through the comments right now. Yeah.
Yeah, I love him, man.
Yeah. But no, again, if we could pull the trigger on Aaron Rodgers, you gotta get him, in my opinion. The problem is, that's been the issue throughout the offseason. So
yeah,
we'll see. But I do. So very quick thoughts first on potentially if we are going to sign Bob McClain and Charles Leno. I don't know if you think we're going to sign one or the other or neither.
Yeah. I hope they get McClain. I think they're a good fit safety. Though I do like Reeves. Though I want to put this out there. Yeah. I feel like we all keep saying we need a free safety. And I think Reeves played well, and like it's not a big need for me as a fan. I think the kid played well, especially paired him with Curl. I thought him and Curl had great chemistry at the back end. So if they go with Reeves, that's fine. The tackle, again, it's a lot. I mean, they're doing a lot of work at left tackle, so I don't know. It's a lot of work at left tackles. No, man. Like that one, like they want to bring somebody in, but I'm like, you just drafted a kid from Texas, and Sadiq Charles. You everybody gassed him up to be Trent Williams' replacement. So now I'm like, all right. So so obviously something's wrong because you keep trying to bring in a left tackle, and Lucas played well. So I'm just like, left tackle is just, I don't know. Like I'm really into like what they want to do with left tackle. I'm like, all right, you want to bring them in, but there's so much. Like they're bringing in so many bodies, and there's so many people that can build your team on a period, especially on the O-line. So I'm interested to see how that all pans out. But if I had to pick between the two, I would say McClain be the more realistic one they're going to bring in.
Okay. I would say Leno would probably be the more realistic guy because even though we have guys like Lucas and obviously we have CD Charles, who we really don't know what we're going to get out of him this season. You also have a guy in Eric Flowers you brought over will probably play left guard for you. Samuel Cosme as well. Even though you have those guys, I think there's just some fascination within that front office right now to get a guy who's going to be a starter for this year. And maybe they see Lucas as being what I've been saying since early September as being more of that Tyne Secchi swing tackle type, right? Who could give you very solid reps when he plays, but might not be the best left tackle. Although what Lucas has shown over the course of the season, man, he was really good this year. Like relative to what we expected out of him, he was really good this year. Yeah. And I know we also had that tweet from earlier today about him saying he's going back to to do some more workouts because he feels like the team. Well, he didn't say this, but implicitly, right? The team doesn't really think he's going to be the starting left tackle this year, or they're trying to sign his replacement or all that.
It's true.
I think that tweet was more so in response to, I believe it was Ian Rappaport who said that the team had a big hole at left tackle, which I don't think anybody agrees with because we have some solid guys who could play at left tackle for us. It might be kind of a need, but not really. So I think that's what he was responding more so to. But I just think Charles Leno, it worked out last year getting a former Bear. I'm here in Chicago, and it would be nice to see a guy that my friends love to hate on, love to bash, right? And Charles Leno come over here in DC and be that Eric Flowers type who just all of a sudden gets it together and, regains what he was before. I believe he was a Pro Bowler in his past, maybe becoming that here in DC. Who knows? He's not too old, right? So potentially go back to that. But with Bobby McClain, in 2017, I think it was 2017, he was really good. The last couple of seasons, been really bad. So you gotta factor that in. And then Jeremy Reeves, the guy that I actually got to meet in person, during the last official Washington Redskins training camp back then, before COVID and all that. Whole different world. It's kind of crazy now, but really cool guy, and he worked at it, man. Ron Rivera promised him that he was going to get him a chance, that he wasn't going to go after a guy like Trey Boston during the season, and that if they had a need at free safety over the course of the season, that Jeremy Reeves was going to be the first call. He was the first call. Yeah, definitely gave Ron Rivera all that he wanted out of position, and I think you don't really need to sign a guy in free agency just to fill the free safety position when you already have guys like Jeremy Reeves back there, when you already have a guy who, in Cam Curl, who might play a little bit more free safety this year, who I don't think, we like to see, right? Because I think he's more so a strong safety. But McCain, and I see Gregory Lightbody's comment here. Yeah, he hasn't. I'm not saying he's been completely trash. He did start for a Dolphins defense, right? Dolphins secondary that overall was really good. But I just think Jeremy Reeves, Ron Rivera, for a good reason, has some fascination with Jeremy Reeves as being starting free safety this year. And I also think that Jack Del Rio might tinker again with putting Cam Curl back there. So we'll see, man. I think both guys would be good signings. I'll just say in closing that, again, going back to the former Bear route and going back to that Eric Flowers route of getting someone who wasn't, good the last couple of years, and also someone who played for Chicago Bears and a lot of Bears fans trash. I think that's a smart thing to do.
No, I agree. I think it's a good move. But back to Reeves, it's almost to we talk about how back in the day, Ryan Clark, Reeves reminds me of. It's a dude that, when he got this opportunity, he played well, and then eventually, they thought they can do better, so they went and got a free safety, another safety. Ryan Clark, that's when they got Archuleta when. Ryan Clark was playing good. And then Ryan Clark goes to Pittsburgh, and that's all she wrote. It's a whole different story. So you got a guy in Reeves, and I'm not saying it's going to be as bad as Archuleta, but I'm saying you got a guy in Reeves who's played well. He's played well for this team. Not everybody is Ed Reed, all right? You don't have to be Ed Reed, but if he plays well and and he's a baller and fits the scheme and fits this defense and this is the most important thing, has great chemistry with his other safety mate in Cam Curl, which he showed, then why change it? Like they worked well together, and then you're bringing in now. You got Fuller. You know what I mean? Like you got Moreland. You're getting a report. These dudes are growing together. So I'm a firm believer of like, just keep it the same. I mean, I have no issue to be. I'm a fan of keeping Reeves as starter. So just keep it the same. And you always got to spend. You don't got to spend money on people. Just because you're good. You save that money for my man Brandon Scherf, who may need it later.
That's also facts, but I don't know. Hopefully he wants to resign here. I don't know. The chances of that are getting slimmer by the day. But
I heard he want to resign. He does. He would resign here. He likes it here. It's just that he's been used to losing. He's been used to losing. So he wants to. He's gonna make sure that everything's changing. That's all. Yeah. Can't knock that.
Okay. Can't. Yeah, that's true. I do think I say this every show just to remind people out there who don't know this, who like a guy like Corey from On the Warpath, who we've had on the channel, who thinks that Morgan Moses is the most valuable offensive lineman on this team. Brandon Scherf, when he's playing, our run game is completely different than when he's not playing. Go check the stats. Go check the film, guys. But just trust me on this. It's a completely different running game. Go ahead.
I got something about this though. You're right, but it's a pairing though. So this is the thing, and you can check the stats. You can check the season. When Morgan was out and Brandon had to do it by himself, he slacked a little bit. Morgan isn't as good without Brandon, and Brandon isn't as good. Brandon is great. Like I don't want to act like this is not changing Brandon, but Brandon is as good as we normally see Brandon without Morgan. You see it. Like those two is very important. There's a reason why the line played well on that side because they're both together. When they're together, it's a good offensive line. Like to be honest with you, it's a good offensive line. So it's important to me if you're gonna bring somebody in there, if you're gonna lose Brandon Scherf, make sure. Well, Morgan will probably be gone next year. To be honest with you, year after next, he'll probably be gone because it's contract. But when you have those two together for this season, it's important to have them there this season for the quarterback to feel safe. And not knowing what's going to happen on the left side, to be honest with you, not knowing what's going to happen, I think it's important to have those two, together so they can have a season that everybody wants this team to have. So, but I feel like they really work well together. When one is missing, there's definitely a decrease in play.
Yep, that's fair. I just think there's more of a decrease in play when Scherf is not playing. But I get that as well.
No, I totally agree. No, I'm not going to argue. I agree.
And Hawk here making the comment about Scherf making $20 million a year. I don't know. I feel like this offseason should have showed you though, bro, that like teams could work their way around the salary cap like magicians, man. We saw that with the Saints, with the Eagles. Like I feel like Scherf could technically make $20 million a year, but only count for for like 14, 15, 60 million on the cap, right? Like I think the team could sign a deal like that. I don't know if you feel the same way.
I do. I think that Brandon Scherf can get 20 a year in name. Give him that in name. But there's definitely a situation where they can rework it to a point where, like you said, 15, 14 is pretty much the main thing a year. And then once he gets to a certain point, they're going to cut him. Like football players aren't guaranteed. So this whole notion about paying somebody 20 a year, like it's going to hurt the team, is really not, because it's temporary. Like they're temporary. Like Brandon Scherf is very temporary. Whatever you sign him. And I love Brandon Scherf. I think I would love him. I want him to be back. But let's be real. If they give him a lot of money, there's chances are that there's a high likelihood that he won't be here for most of that contract.
Okay, so I lied. I'm sorry, but this last question, little late here, but should we cut Collins next offseason? Do you believe we should?
Oh man, Land, if you don't, since he's complaining about playing linebacker, it's if the money's right to cut him, yes, I'll keep it a buck. If the money's right to cut him, yes. And Landon Collins, I'm a person who does like Landon Collins, but the way the season had played out last season, you can't deny him curl. He should be your starting strong safety. It is what it is. Like and find somebody to play free. He was too dynamic. I'm sorry, he was just too dynamic. You saw the difference.
Yep. Agreed. And then this is the last question I saved for every single Washington Football Team Weekly live stream. All the good people here in the chat know what's up. This question is, looking ahead, how confident do you feel about the Washington Football Team's future? Do you think Ron Rivera is really moving us to be in legit title contention relatively soon?
Yes, I do. Because he's building it the way I kind of envisioned team being built inside out. Inside out and also within the trenches. I'm a big believer in building your defenses in the trenches, and he's done that by getting Davis. I feel like he solidified what they need with the front seven. And then you look at the offensive line, and I may have said, getting somebody in the second round, whatever, but you can see what he's trying to do. He's trying to build that offensive line to a point where this team is now a bunch of maulers on the offensive side of football in terms of that O-line. So he's trying to bring some more physicality to the offensive line and defensive line. And then we're talking about wide receiver skill position, and look what he did with that. So I think they're definitely there. I feel like to everybody's, to what we've seen within the comments and questions, and even what you were saying about the quarterback, they're a young quarterback away from being where they need to be at. But you know what? Who's to say that can't be Heineke? Who knows? Maybe that's Heineke. You know what I'm saying? So, but nah, all jokes aside, they're that kind of player away. So maybe they get a player like that in the draft next season. Because I'm a big believer. Just wait till you get your guy, and when they can get their guy, I feel like then they'll be where they definitely want to be at. But to me, we can all believe that this team can do something. Season, I really believe it. Like upcoming season, I think this team can do something really special. The way Ron has built this team. Now there are other teams that are going to be tough to beat because the schedule will be harder because they won a division. So the schedule there will be it should be an A-top schedule. But I do think they have the capability and the offensive weapons and defensive weapons to give everybody some problems, whoever they play. Yeah,
I agree, and I'm going to keep these comments brief because you guys hear my take every single week, but I think this team has the makings of being, like you said, like a very, very good team this year. The problem is that schedule. A lot of people aren't talking about it, right? Like, I think this team, I predicted after seeing all the teams that Washington is going to play this year, I predicted the team is probably going to win maybe 9 or 10 games. And while that might not be spectacular with this kind of schedule, I mean, that's pretty good. And I'll say this too, going into starting this YouTube channel, I talked about how we should give Ron Rivera 2 years, and then the following year is going to be the year where we're title contenders. And I think we're right on track with that. I think this year we're going to be very good, but we're that quarterback away. We're that quarterback away from being something that no team wants to play when it comes to the totality of the roster. And I'm looking forward to seeing what we got this season. I know the schedule release is, I believe, on Wednesday this week, so we should know in relatively short order about the teams that we're going to be facing over the course of the season and when, which is always important. And with that being said, Wole, I appreciate you so much for joining the Washington Football Team Weekly live stream. I literally learned so much. I wrote some notes, and I'm glad that you came on, especially at the beginning. We talked about the Wizards, NBA, Steph Curry, for all those people who came in late. So get into that on the replay. But yeah, thank you so much. Any last things you want to say before we wrap up?
Oh man, I appreciate everybody. I appreciate you, my man, for having me on. I'm glad we finally got the link up. It's been cool. It's always good to represent the DMV, talk about DMV teams, and definitely talk about the Washington Football Team. And I just want fans to know, man, this season it's going to be lit. It'll be one of those seasons to remember.
And that is a fact. Gregory, we're facing the Giants and the Eagles. I think that's going to be the case, man. If we face the Eagles again during week 1, just like why schedule makers, like, make it interesting.
You want to play the Eagles week 1? They got like an immature team. You want to play the Eagles week 1? I'll take them. That's a W. Start off 1-0.
We're gonna play them eventually. We're gonna play them eventually.
Look, man, start this season fast. That's what we want to do. We want to start the season fast. For everybody. Come on, man.
That's fair. That's fair, because if we lose to the Giants, we're gonna be like all down on ourselves and everything.
Oh,
So
the
I
world's
get that
over.
take as well. Yeah. But thank you guys so much for watching. Please make sure to like, comment, subscribe to the DMB Sports Zone channel, where we try to post fire content on here as much as possible. Also, go follow our Instagram page, all lowercase DMB Sports Zone, and our Twitter page at DMB Sports Zone, where we try to post fire content on there as much as possible as well. With that being said, have a great rest of your night, guys. Wole, thanks again for joining. And this is the DMB Sports Zone.